I knew her face the moment she walked through my office door. 20 years. That's how long it had been since Victoria Hayes last looked at me, but I'd recognize those green eyes anywhere. The same eyes that watched me cry in the high school bathroom. The same eyes that turned away when I begged for help. She didn't recognize me. Of course she didn't. I was different now. The braces were gone. So was the weight, the acne, the thrift store clothes that never quite fit. The girl she tormented, the girl she helped destroy, was buried under expensive haircuts, tailored suits, and a fortune that most people only dream about. "Miss Winters will see you now," my assistant had said. And there she was, Victoria Hayes, older, tired-looking, with lines around her eyes that weren't there before. Her resume said she'd been unemployed for 8 months, divorced with 2 kids, and living with her mother. She needed this job. I could see it in the way her hands trembled slightly as she shook mine. "Thank you so much for this opportunity," she said, her voice smaller than I remembered. I smiled. "Please sit down." I was 16 when Victoria Hayes first made me a target. It started small, whispers in the hallway, laughing when I walked past. Then it escalated. She'd knock my lunch tray out of my hands. She'd convince the other girls to exclude me from everything. Once, she posted photos of me changing in the locker room online with cruel captions. But the worst day was March 15th, 2005. I'd finally worked up the courage to tell a teacher about the bullying. Mrs. Patterson promised she'd handle it discreetly, but somehow, Victoria found out. That afternoon, she cornered me after school with 6 other girls. "You think you can snitch on me?" she'd hissed. They destroyed everything. My backpack, my books, my science project I'd spent 3 months on. The one I needed for the scholarship competition. They filmed the whole thing and posted it online. The video went viral at our school. "Please," I'd begged through tears. "I need that project. It's my only chance." Victoria had laughed so hard. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you opened your big mouth. Scholarship girl." I didn't get the scholarship. My single mother couldn't afford college without it. I watched my dreams crumble, while Victoria got into a prestigious university, her life continuing perfectly on track. Now, sitting across from her in my corner office overlooking the city, I held all the power. "Your resume is impressive," I lied. It wasn't. There were gaps, inconsistencies, a clear trajectory of downward mobility. "But I'm curious. Tell me about a time you faced a difficult challenge." She straightened in her chair, desperate to impress. "Well, my divorce was challenging, but I meant professionally," I interrupted coldly. She flushed. "Of course, I'm sorry. Well, at my last position before the layoffs." I barely listened. Instead, I watched her squirm, watched her try so hard to be likable, to be hireable. Part of me wanted to end the interview right there, to tell her exactly who I was, and watch the realization dawn on her face. But that would have been too easy. "Miss Hayes, I'm going to be honest with you." I leaned forward. "You're not the most qualified candidate I've interviewed." Her face fell. I could see tears starting to form. "However," I continued, "I believe in second chances. The position is yours if you want it." The relief that flooded her face was almost painful to witness. "Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. Miss Winters, you won't regret this. I promise I'll work harder than anyone." "I know you will," I said quietly. Victoria started the following Monday as my executive assistant. I told myself I hired her to make her life miserable, to give her impossible tasks, to humiliate her the way she humiliated me. For the first few weeks, that's exactly what I did. I'd call her at midnight with urgent requests. I'd criticize her work in front of others. I'd watch her stay late, watch her struggle, watch her try desperately to please me. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy in her suffering, just emptiness. One evening, about 3 weeks in, I was working late when I heard crying from the outer office. I found Victoria at her desk, her head in her hands, papers scattered everywhere. "I can't do this," she was whispering to herself. "I can't lose another job. The kids need." She looked up and saw me. Her face went pale. "Miss Winters, I'm so sorry. I'll finish these reports right now. Go home, Victoria." "But the presentations." "Go home." My voice was harsh. She gathered her things quickly, avoiding my eyes. As she rushed past me, I caught sight of her phone screen. Her wallpaper was a photo of 2 kids, a boy and a girl, maybe 8 and 10 years old. They were smiling, hugging their mother. After she left, I sat at her desk and looked at the work I'd given her. It was too much. I knew it was too much. That was the point, wasn't it? But staring at that photo on her phone, I felt sick. The breaking point came 6 weeks into her employment. I'd given Victoria Another impossible deadline. A complete market analysis, due by morning. It was 11 p.m., and she was still in the office. I was preparing to leave when I heard her voice on the phone. I know, baby. I know Mommy promised, but I have to finish this work. Her voice cracked. Make it up to you. Okay, we'll do something special this weekend. I love you so much. Put Grandma back on. Mom, I know I'm trying this job. It's brutal, but it's good money. It has to work. I can't fail them again. She was crying now. Did you know Isabel asked me today why Daddy doesn't love us anymore? She's 8 years old, and she thinks it's her fault he left. I stood frozen outside her office. I know I've made mistakes. God, I know. I wasn't always a good person, but I'm trying to be better. For them, they deserve better than what I had. Better than who I was. Something inside me cracked. I walked into her office. She looked up, startled, and quickly wiped her eyes. Miss Winters, the report is almost done. Victoria, stop. She stood up, trembling. Please don't fire me. Please. I know I'm slow, I know I make mistakes, but I'll do better. I'll work harder. My kids. Sit down. She sat. I took a deep breath. Do you remember Riverside High School? She blinked, confused. Yes, that's where I went. Why? Do you remember Diana Winters? The blood drained from her face. Her mouth opened, then closed. She stared at me. Really looked at me, for the first time since we'd reconnected. Oh my God, she whispered. Diana, you're Diana. The silence in that office was deafening. Victoria's hands were shaking. I didn't recognize you. You look so different. She swallowed hard. You hired me knowing who I was. Yes. Why? Her voice was barely audible. To punish me, to make me suffer, because I deserve it. God, Diana, I deserve all of it. I'd imagined this moment for weeks. Imagined the satisfaction of hearing her admit what she'd done. But now, watching her fall apart, I felt no victory. Tell me what happened to you, I said instead. After high school. She looked down at her hands. Why do you care? I don't know, but I'm asking. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she started talking. I went to college, had everything handed to me. Parents paid for everything, sorority, the perfect life. Met my husband in senior year. We got married young, had Isabel. Then Theo, she paused. I thought I had it all figured out. You know, I thought I was special. Better than people like you. The honesty in that last part stung, but I stayed quiet. Then everything fell apart. My dad's business collapsed. Fraud scandal. My parents lost everything. My husband, he didn't sign up for a broke wife. He left me for his coworker. Took most of our savings in the divorce. I couldn't find decent work because I'd never really worked. I'd just coasted on my looks and connections. And my kids, they lost their home, their school, their friends. All because their mother was a useless, spoiled. Stop, I said. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. You want to know something? I continued. After that day you destroyed my project, I went home and told my mother I wanted to drop out. She was working 2 jobs just to keep us afloat, and I told her I wanted to quit. Victoria's face crumpled. Deanna, she wouldn't let me, she said. People like them want you to give up. Don't you dare give them that power. So I didn't. I worked 3 jobs through community college, transferred to state school, built my first company in my 20s, sold it for $8 million, built another, then another. You did all that, Victoria whispered. Despite what I did to you. No, I corrected. Because of what you did to me, you made me realize I had to be twice as strong, twice as smart, twice as determined, because nobody was going to hand me anything. Victoria stood up slowly. So what now? You've made your point. You hired me just to torment me, to show me how far you've come, while I've fallen. I get it, I deserve it. She straightened her shoulders. Fire me, get your revenge. I'll sign whatever you want me to sign. Just can I finish out the week? I need the paycheck too. Sit down, Victoria. Diana, please. Sit down. She sat. I walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Do you know why I really hired you? To destroy me. I thought so too. I turned to face her. But the truth. I hired you because I needed to know. Know what? If becoming successful, becoming powerful, becoming everything I dreamed of, if it would make that scared 16-year-old girl inside me feel safe. I felt my own tears coming. If it would fill the hole that day left in me. And does it? Victoria asked softly. No, the word came out broken. I have everything I wanted and more, but I still wake up sometimes in a panic, thinking I'm back in that moment, watching you laugh, while you destroyed the only chance I had. I'm 40 years old, worth hundreds of millions, and I'm still haunted by a high school bully. Victoria was crying openly now. I'm so sorry. God, Deanna, I'm so sorry. I was cruel and vicious, and I destroyed something precious because I was a horrible person. I can't take it back. I can't fix it. And I know saying sorry doesn't mean anything. You're right, it doesn't. She flinched. But, I continued, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Can you do that? Yes. If you could go back, if you could be that girl again, knowing everything you know now, would you still do it? Would you still hurt me? Victoria looked at me for a long time. I could see her really thinking about it, wrestling with the question. The easy answer is no, she finally said. The answer you want to hear is no. But you asked me to be honest, so I'll tell you the truth. She took a shaky breath. That girl I was, she would do it again, because she didn't see you as a person. She saw you as beneath her, as someone who didn't matter. She was so wrapped up in her own sense of superiority, her own insecurities, that she couldn't imagine you had dreams, feelings, a future. You were just a target. The honesty hurt more than I expected. But that's not who I am anymore, she continued. Losing everything, it didn't just humble me. It destroyed the person I was and forced me to build something new, something better, I hope. When my daughter came home crying last year because girls at school were excluding her, I saw myself in those bullies, and I saw you in her, and I was so ashamed I couldn't breathe. What did you do? I asked. I went to the school. I talked to the girls and their parents. I told them about you, not by name, but I told them what I'd done, what that cruelty looks like from the other side, how it follows you. She wiped her eyes. Then I told my own kids. I told them their mother was once a bully, that I hurt someone badly, and that I would spend the rest of my life trying to be better than that person. What did they say? Isabel asked if you ever forgave me. Victoria's voice cracked. I told her I didn't deserve forgiveness, that some things you do can't be forgiven. We sat in silence. I can't give you what you want, Diana, Victoria finally said. I can't undo what I did. I can't give you back that scholarship, that opportunity, that confidence. I stole something from you that day, and no amount of apologies will return it. I know. So what do you want from me? I'd been asking myself that question for 6 weeks, maybe for 20 years. I want to tell you a story, I said, about a woman named Mrs. Patterson. Victoria's eyes widened slightly. She remembered the name. After you destroyed my project, after I didn't get the scholarship, I spent months drowning in anger and depression. Mrs. Patterson, she didn't give up on me. She reached out to every contact she had. She found me a small grant. She wrote me recommendation letters. She stayed after school to help me with college applications. I smiled at the memory. One day, I asked her why. Why was she helping me when I'd already lost? And she said something I've never forgotten. She said, what happened to you was unfair and cruel, but you get to decide what you become because of it. You can let it poison you, or you can let it strengthen you. But that's your choice, Diana, not theirs. Victoria was listening intently. I chose strength. I chose success. But somewhere along the way, I forgot the second part of what she said. I looked directly at Victoria. She also told me that holding onto anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. She said that forgiveness isn't about the person who hurt you. It's about freeing yourself. Are you saying you forgive me? Victoria asked carefully. I'm saying I'm tired, Victoria. I'm tired of carrying this. I'm tired of letting that day define me. I'm tired of letting you have power over me. I don't have power over you. Look at you, you're incredibly successful. You have everything. Do I? I challenged. I have money and success, but I've kept everyone at arm's length because I'm terrified of being vulnerable again. I sabotage relationships because I expect betrayal. I hired you not to give you a second chance, but to prove to myself that I was better than you. That's not power, that's prison. I walked back to my desk and pulled out a folder. This is for you. Victoria opened it with trembling hands. Her eyes went wide. This is a new contract, full-time position, benefits, this salary. Diana, this is 3 times what you're paying me now, and a signing bonus to help you get on your feet. She looked up at me, confused. I don't understand. Why would you? Because I don't want revenge anymore. It's exhausting, and it's not who I want to be. I sat down across from her. But I'm not doing this just for you. I'm doing this for me. For that 16-year-old girl who deserved better. For my mother who taught me that strength isn't about crushing people who are down. It's about lifting yourself up without losing your humanity. I can't accept this, Victoria said, but her hands clutched the contract like a lifeline. It's too much. After what I did. You're right, you can't accept it. Not yet. I leaned forward. Here's the condition. I want you to use some of that bonus to start therapy. Real therapy. Deal with whatever made you that cruel girl. Because I don't think you were born mean. Victoria, something made you that way. She was crying again. My father, she whispered. He was hard on me. Nothing was ever good enough. I think I took that out on others. On you. Then deal with it. For your kids. They deserve a mother who's healed, not just sorry. What else? She asked. I want you to volunteer. Work with kids who are bullied. Share your story. Actually make amends through action, not just words. I'll do it. I'll do all of it. And one more thing. I stood up. I need you to be honest with me. If I'm being unfair, if I'm being too hard on you, if I slip back into using you as my punching bag, because I'm still angry, Victoria. Some days I'm still that 16-year-old girl, and I need to know you'll call me out when I'm acting from that place. She stood too. You want me to hold you accountable. I want us both to be better than who we were. 3 months later, something changed. Victoria had thrown herself into the work, not because she was terrified of losing her job, but because she was genuinely good at it. Once I stopped sabotaging her and started actually managing her, she thrived. She was organized, creative, proactive. But more than that, she'd kept her promises. She started therapy twice a week. She'd begun volunteering at a youth center, talking to kids about bullying from the perspective of someone who'd been on the wrong side of it. And she'd started to heal. One afternoon, she knocked on my office door. Diana, can we talk? Of course. I want to show you something. She pulled out her phone and opened a document. Remember, when you gave me that market analysis project last month, the one you said needed improvement? Yes, I've been thinking about it, and I think you were wrong. I blinked. Excuse me, you were being too conservative. Look, she pulled up charts and data. The market is ready for this expansion. You're hesitating because you're being cautious, but sometimes caution holds you back from growth. She was right. I'd been so focused on avoiding risk that I'd missed an opportunity. You're telling your boss she's wrong? I asked, amused. You told me to be honest. She smiled nervously. Was that a test? No, but it's good to see you're taking it seriously. I looked at her analysis again. This is excellent work, Victoria. Really excellent. She beamed. Thank you, that means a lot coming from you. And here's the thing, I meant it. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped seeing her as my former bully and started seeing her as a colleague, maybe even as a person who was genuinely trying to change. The real turning point came on a rainy Tuesday in November. I was having a terrible day. A major deal had fallen through. A journalist had published a hit piece about my company. And to top it off, it was the anniversary of my mother's death. Something I'd told no one about. I was sitting in my office, trying not to cry, when Victoria knocked. Not now, I called out. She opened the door anyway. I know you said not now, but she stopped, seeing my face. Diana, what's wrong? Nothing, just drop the reports and go. Instead, she closed the door and sat down. Talk to me. I said I'm fine. And I'm saying you're not. What happened? Maybe it was the stress. Maybe it was the anniversary. Maybe I was just tired of being strong all the time. But something in me broke. My mother died 5 years ago today, I said quietly. And all I can think about is how hard she worked her entire life. 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She did everything to give me a chance. And for what? So I could become successful and bitter. So I could spend my energy on revenge, instead of honoring what she taught me. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she said, tell me about her. What? Your mother, tell me about her. What was she like? And I did. For an hour I told her stories. How my mother would sing while cooking. How she'd check my homework at midnight after her second shift. How she'd saved for months to buy me a used laptop for school. How she'd been so proud when I got my first business deal. Victoria listened to every word. And when I finally stopped talking, she said, she sounds amazing. And I think she'd be proud of who you've become. Even though I hired you to torture you. Even though, Victoria smiled sadly, because you didn't go through with it. When you had all the power, all the opportunity for revenge, you chose something harder. You chose to try to heal. That takes more strength than cruelty ever could. Something shifted in that moment. Victoria wasn't my enemy anymore. She wasn't even just my employee. She was someone who understood what it meant to carry regret, to try to be better than who you were. Over the next year, our professional relationship evolved into something unexpected. Friendship. Victoria became my right hand. She anticipated problems before they arose. She challenged me when I needed it. She supported me when I doubted myself. And slowly, I realized I trusted her. One day, she invited me to dinner at her mother's house. I almost said no. It felt too personal, too intimate. But then I thought about what Mrs. Patterson had said about not letting fear rule my life. So I went. Victoria's kids were shy at first. but curious. Her daughter Isabel asked me about building companies. Her son Theo wanted to know if I knew any astronauts. I didn't, disappointingly. Victoria's mother was warm and kind, if a bit reserved around me. After dinner, Victoria and I sat on the back porch while the kids played inside. "Thank you for coming," she said. "It means a lot. The kids have been asking about you. They're great kids. They are, better than I deserve." "Stop that," I said. "You're a good mother. Victoria, I've seen how hard you work for them." She was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something? And you can tell me if it's too personal." "Okay. Do you ever want kids? A family?" I'd been asked this question before, always by people who didn't really care about the answer. But from Victoria, it felt genuine. I used to think I didn't have time. Then I thought I didn't trust anyone enough. But lately, I paused. Lately, I've been wondering if I was just scared. Of what? Of being vulnerable. Of letting someone matter enough that they could hurt me. Victoria nodded slowly. "That makes sense. After what you went through. What you put me through," I corrected gently. "Yes, what I put you through." She looked at me. "But you know what I've learned? The things worth having in life are scary because they matter. My kids terrify me every single day. What if I mess them up? What if I fail them? But they're also the best thing that ever happened to me." "You really have changed," I said. "I'm trying. Every day I'm trying." A year and a half after I hired Victoria, I received an invitation. It was from Riverside High School. They were honoring Mrs. Patterson's 40 years of teaching and wanted former students to speak. They'd somehow tracked me down through my company. I almost declined. The thought of going back there, of facing those halls, those memories, made me physically ill. But Victoria convinced me otherwise. "You need to do this," she said when I told her about it. "Not for them, for you, to show yourself how far you've come. Will you come with me?" She looked surprised. "Are you sure? That place has terrible memories for both of us." "Well, terrible for you because of me. Just answer the question. Will you come?" "Yes, if you want me there, yes." The day of the event, I stood backstage, my hands shaking. Victoria stood next to me, equally nervous. "I can't believe I'm back here," I whispered. "Me neither, Diana." She took a breath. "Thank you for giving me the chance to be here as your friend instead of your enemy." When they called my name, I walked onto that stage and looked out at the audience. Some faces I recognized, most I didn't, but then I saw Mrs. Patterson in the front row, tears already streaming down her face. I told my story. Not all of it. I didn't mention Victoria by name, but I talked about being bullied, about having my project destroyed, about losing the scholarship, about wanting to quit. And then I talked about Mrs. Patterson, about how one teacher's belief in me had changed everything, how she'd taught me that success isn't about never falling down, it's about getting back up, how she'd shown me that strength and kindness aren't opposites. When I finished, the room erupted in applause, but I was looking at Mrs. Patterson, who was crying and mouthing, "I'm so proud of you." After the ceremony, I found her in the hallway. "Diana Winters," she said, pulling me into a hug. "Look at you. Look at what you've become. Because of you." "No, honey. I just reminded you of what was already there." We talked for a few minutes, catching up. Then her eyes drifted over my shoulder. "Is that Victoria Hayes?" I turned. Victoria was hanging back, unsure if she should approach. "Yes," I said. "She works for me now." Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows rose. "Really? That must be complicated." It was. "It's getting easier." "Good, that's good, Diana." She squeezed my hand. "Forgiveness is the final form of love, you know." Later that night, Victoria and I sat in my car outside the school. Neither of us seemed ready to leave yet. "Thank you for not mentioning me in there," Victoria said quietly. "In your speech, that's your story to tell, not mine." I told my story today too, at the youth center. She looked at me. "I told them everything. About you, about what I did. I used your real name. I figured, you've been so public about your success. People should know the full story. If that's okay." "It's okay." One of the kids asked me if you ever forgave me. She smiled sadly. "I told them I didn't know, that I didn't deserve it, but that maybe someday." She trailed off. I thought about everything that had happened, the rage I'd felt, the revenge I'd planned, the transformation I'd witnessed, the friendship we'd built. "Victoria, can I tell you something?" "Of course. When I first hired you, I wanted to break you. I wanted you to feel every bit of pain you caused me. I wanted you to suffer. I know. Here's what I realized. Hurting you didn't heal me. It just made me someone I didn't want to be. Someone my mother wouldn't have recognized." I turned to look at her directly. "I forgive you," Victoria's breath caught. "Diana, I forgive you," I repeated. "Not because you earned it or deserve it, I forgive you because I need to. Because holding on to that anger was killing parts of me I didn't want to lose. Because you're actually trying to be better. And that matters. Because forgiveness isn't about you. It's about me choosing to be free. Tears were streaming down Victoria's face. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just keep being the person you're trying to become. Keep being honest. Keep being a good mother. Keep volunteering. Keep calling me out when I'm wrong. That's enough. She wiped her eyes. I'll never stop being sorry. You know, for what I did. For who I was. I know. But maybe it's time we both stop living in that moment. Maybe it's time we both become something new. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Victoria asked, "So what happens now? We just move forward?" "Yeah," I said. "We move forward. Together, as friends, is that okay?" "More than okay." She smiled through her tears. "It's more than I ever dreamed possible." 2 years after that night, I stood as the maid of honor at Victoria's wedding. She was remarrying. A kind man she'd met at the youth center where she volunteered. He knew her whole story. He loved her anyway. As I watched her exchange vows, I thought about how strange life is. How the person who once caused me the most pain had become one of my closest friends. How the worst day of my teenage life had led, in a roundabout way, to this moment. Victoria's daughter Isabel tugged on my sleeve. "Miss Diana." "Yes, sweetie. My mom says you saved her life. Is that true?" I knelt down to her level. "No, honey, your mom saved her own life. I just gave her a chance. She says you're the bravest person she knows." I smiled. "Your mom's pretty brave too." Later, at the reception, Victoria pulled me aside. "I never thought I'd have this. Happiness, peace, a second chance at love. And I wouldn't have any of it without you. You would have found your way. Maybe, but not like this, not whole." She hugged me tight. "Thank you, Diana, for seeing who I could become instead of only who I was. Thank you for becoming her." As I watched Victoria dance with her new husband, her kids laughing nearby, I realized something. This was the revenge I'd really needed. Not her suffering, but both of us healing. Not her destruction, but both of us growing. Mrs. Patterson was right. Forgiveness is the final form of love, and sometimes, the person you most need to forgive is yourself. For holding on to pain so long, you almost miss the chance for joy. I'd hired my destroyer thinking I'd destroy her back. Instead, we'd both been rebuilt into something better than we'd been before. And that was better than any revenge I could have imagined.